Hello, 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 and welcome to my kitchen. My name is Beverly Lucas, and I am the host of For the Love of Cooking Fridays. What do I do on Fridays? I try to show you how to make a meal, a dish, a dessert that is always better than the restaurant. It is always better than the restaurant. Today we are making a home style meal. That's what I'll call it, a home style meal. And I have been wanting some pork chops for a long time. I can't even remember the last time I had pork chops. So I have some pork chops here, and we are going to smother it in some, I'm going to call it French onion gravy, because one of my other favorites is French onion soup. So I love caramelized onions. So I have my onions here for that. And also for the gravy, I have a cup of chicken stock. You can use beef stock, but I like using chicken stock. And I have some Worcestershire sauce, however you want to say that, because I put together this little seasoning blend, some garlic powder, onion powder, some salt, some pepper, and some seasoning salt that we're going to use for the pork chops. The other important thing about the pork chops is I researched a lot of ways to cook and was thinking, do I want to grill them? Do I want to bake them? Do I want to fry them? What do I want to do? So today I decided to do something different, and I marinated these pork chops in some water and some sugar and salt. So it was even parts. I think I used a quarter cup of sugar, a quarter cup of salt, and then a bowl full of water. And what that's supposed to do is it's supposed to tenderize the pork chops, but also keeps it nice and juicy. The interesting thing about that solution is that's the same solution that I use to marinate my shrimp. I use the salt and sugar mixture in some water. I put it in the refrigerator for 30 minutes, and that makes the shrimp really, really crisp, especially if I'm making a shrimp cocktail. So I was familiar with that, so I did that with the pork chops. I let them marinate for a couple of hours. It was maybe 3 or 4 hours. I washed them off first. I washed them off, I dried them, and I've had them sitting out for about 40 minutes so that they can come to room temperature. Along with the pork chops and the gravy, we're gonna make some rice. So I have some white rice here. I have 2 cups of water that I'm gonna turn on right now for that to get started. And I have 1 cup of rice. Also, we have some butter. So the butter we are going to use to fry the pork chops is going to be a butter, and I have some avocado oil. So that's how we're going to do the pork chops. Oh, spinach. So we're making some garlic spinach. So I have some spinach here, and those of you who eat spinach, you know that this is going to cook down probably to about a half a cup or 2 servings. And with that, we're going to use we're going to cut up some cherry tomatoes from my garden. Yes, my garden already. Really excited about that. Also for the pork chops for the gravy, I have some herbs from my garden. So I'm really excited about this. This is lemon thyme. I've never used that before, so we're going to use that in the gravy because I love thyme in my food. And then I just have some beautiful green parsley. Well, it's for a freshness of taste because parsley does add a freshness to anything that you put it in, but it is also for color, and it is also for presentation because, as you know, I always say that we eat with our eyes first. The last thing that I have here, I have some garlic, that's cut up that we're using for a few things, not just the spinach, but also for our gravy. I have some flour. So we're going to we're going to season our pork chops. And then we're going to dredge them in some flour. And then we are going to pan fry them. Are you with me? Are you really with me? Come on in the kitchen with me. All right, we're gonna go ahead, put our pork chops in. The flour on the pork chops we're gonna use also for the gravy. It's gonna help with the gravy, to thicken the gravy. So I have some of that flour left here. And we're just gonna let those cook. The water is boiling, so I'm going to put in the rice. Again, it is 2 cups of water. Let me turn you a little bit this way. And a bouillon cube, and I'm gonna pour that in. And then I'm going to turn this down to simmer. And I'm gonna time it for 20 minutes. One of the easiest things to make here is going to be the spinach. So I have my butter. I'm gonna put in about 2 tablespoons. And we're just gonna let that melt. While the butter is melting, we're gonna go ahead and turn these pork chops. They look beautiful. So we have our 2 tablespoons of butter. And to that, I'm going to add, I took one of the slices of the onion here, and I just chopped it up. We're gonna add that. And this is for the spinach. And I'm gonna let these cook until they're translucent. And here we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna put some thyme in this mixture. I'm gonna baste it a little bit. Just like this. Okay, I'll get back to that. Okay, it's been a few minutes, and I'm gonna just baste it a little bit more to make sure that that butter is infused. Okay, that is almost done. Okay, so we have our onions here. Now I'm gonna add some garlic, about a teaspoon of garlic. Okay, now I'm gonna add just a little bit of that chicken stock, about a quarter of a cup. And now we're gonna place in our spinach, just like this. And I wanna make sure that everything is incorporated. And this is gonna take probably about no more than a few minutes. Salt, pepper. Oh, really, really quick. Cooking here. Let me take a look at that. It has 3 more minutes until it's 15 minutes. But our spinach is done. You could add some lemon juice to this if you want it, but I like it just like this. So we're going to turn that off so that doesn't overcook. And it has a little bit of liquid in it, and I'm going to just pour that out. Okay, we're going to take the pork chops out. And then I'm just going to stretch them on a plate and let them rest. And now I have all of this goodness. So what I'm gonna do is, let me turn this down because we don't want it to burn. I'm gonna put in those onions right to this mixture. I'm keeping the onions whole, a bit of butter. And we're just gonna let this cook down. And all of that goodness from the flour and the seasonings is gonna be a part of this gravy. Okay, so our rice is done. It did take exactly 15 minutes because I'm using a ceramic pot and that really holds heat, so it cooks a little bit faster. Our spinach is done. I just tasted that. It is delicious. And now we are trying to caramelize our onions here. Our onions are looking really good and smelling really good. And so I have been slow cooking them for about the last 10 minutes. And it looks kind of like this. Okay, I think this is good. Gonna add a little less than a teaspoon of some garlic. Then now we're gonna add our flour. Making gravy and you're adding the flour. And this is gonna be about 3 teaspoons, which is 1 tablespoon. You wanna make sure that you cook out the flour. You do that so that your gravy is not lumpy and so that your gravy does not taste like flour. So we want to cook it out for a few minutes before we add our stock. This is probably not the right spoon to be using for that. Let me get a wooden spoon. If you prepare in advance, you could have it done, I say 35 minutes, because the longest to cook are the onions. If you want them sweet and caramelized. And I could have cooked them longer than this, but I think that's good. So now I'm going to add not 1 cup, but 2 cups of chicken broth. Because it's going to cook down. All right. So the flour is used as a thickening agent. You could use cornstarch, Worcestershire sauce. I'm going to put in there. I'm also going to put in this bouillon, even though it's chicken stock, but I'm only going to use half of it because these are larger. Okay, I'm going to put about a teaspoon of sugar. And sugar is added not for the sweetness, but it helps to balance the flavors. Now that's looking good. So we just want it to thicken up, so we're gonna let it cook. And then once it gets a little thicker, we're gonna put the pork chops back in and let it simmer for a while to make sure that they are done through and through. We're gonna add some salt and pepper. You can see how it's thickening up. Okay, we have the gravy to the consistency that we want. Now we're just going to nestle these pork chops right back in here. And I'm going to cover this and let it simmer for about 10 minutes. Okay, and this is what it looks like. It's going to be delicious. Let me tell you, look at that. Look at those pork chops. That rice and that gravy and that spinach. The gravy is so good. Cut into this. Look at that. See that? See that smoke coming out of that? See how juicy that is? And the gravy. Now let me get a little bit of that spinach with the garlic. Cooking the spinach and the bouillon makes the difference. Delicious. I mean, everything here is just paired so deliciously. So, I'm going to eat my pork chop. And I'm going to thank you for hanging out with me for this video presentation of some smothered pork chops. Like, see, you can't be making this and think I'm just going to be able just to do a video and I just want to eat. If you like this video, why don't you go ahead and give me a thumbs up? If you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, just go ahead and just subscribe. It only takes a few seconds. Just subscribe. And you need to know that it is my joy and it is my pleasure. And this is what I love to do, to show you how to make meals at home that is better than the restaurant. Why? Because I believe that people should do what it is that they love to do. So I'm just using what I love to do to share with you. So until next week, my name is Beverly Lucas, and you have been watching For the Love of Cooking Fridays, and I will see you on next week.